When I say sacred silence, what does that mean to you? See, many of us haven't given ourselves space to be able to pull away from the distractions of the world and become quiet within ourselves. And so for me, sacred silence refers to a spiritual practice and a state of being that goes beyond just a simple absence of noise. It's an intentional stillness that serves as a gateway to a deeper connection, to healing. It's a practice of quieting the external world and the internal chatter in my mind so that I'm able to create a space for a deeper connection and a more meaningful connection with the God in me. So, sacred silence is more than just sitting in a quiet place. The sacred silence is not about the absence of sound, but also the absence of the internal noise. And that internal noise can include the constant streaming of thoughts, right? So we all have those thoughts where they just are constant: fear, anxiety, what ifs, and all of this other stuff that sort of separates us from that oneness with ourselves. Distractions. Distractions are all around us, from food to material distractions to this to that. Worries, anxiety, fear, the mental chatter that fills all of our minds. So we all have that because we're having this human experience. But sacred silence is an active practice. It's being intentional with quieting the mind so that you're able to create space for something else to emerge. Sacred silence is a pathway back to the divine. That divine lives in you. That holiness lives within you. That sacredness, the God in you. So sacred silence is seen as the language of God or the language of the universe. It's the stillness where you're able to better hear that still, small, powerful voice, the divine that lives within you. Because it gives you access to the inner wisdom. It gives you access to clarity. It gives you this sense of unity and presence and peace. Sacred silence is a source of healing and renewal. It allows for you to align with who you truly are. It's a power antidote to stress, to anxiety, to worry, to fear. It is a sense of being where if you're moving through life and life becomes overwhelming, you're able to find this peace within yourself to maneuver through that feeling of being overwhelmed. It allows for you to regulate even your nervous system when you have this place where you're honoring yourself. Even in the midst of chaotic situations, you find this sense of peace within yourself where you're able to go inward to find that peace. It will help to regulate your nervous system, bring you more into this oneness and alignment with who you truly are, that God in you. And then it will restore this sense of peace and calm and even balance within yourself. You're able to recharge yourself. And so for me, I love people. I love to interact with others, the sense of community. However, I also love to be alone because it allows for me to realign myself and recharge myself, to fill myself up so that when I am in my community, whichever community I decide to participate in at whatever time, I go as my full self. So I like to be able to pull back to recharge. And that pulling back could be I'm still with my community, but I may take a step away from whatever is going on, whatever activities, to do a check-in with myself. So that again, when I am with my community, I come as my full and whole self. Sacred silence is also a place of a foundation for spiritual growth. So oftentimes we're told in the midst of challenges, in the midst of this and that, is where you grow. And that's just a part of it. But if you don't have time to pull away from all of that, to reflect, to make sure that how you're moving in situations like that are as your true self and not from a place of pain or from a place of trauma or from a place of whatever it may be. If you're not able to look at yourself and have time to reflect on yourself, how do you know that you're even growing? Growth is not always in the midst of a challenging situation. Sometimes growth is also during that quiet time of reflection, because you're giving yourself the space to reflect, to evaluate yourself. So again, sacred silence is a foundation of spiritual growth, where again you're able to quiet yourself. And that quiet time could be in so many different ways. It could be during your prayer time, meditation, just the quiet contemplation and evaluation, and a space to where you're able to fully focus on your internal self. So when you have that quiet time, you're able to engage with others from, as I stated, a full place. So the practice of sacred silence can take many forms. As I stated, that could be during your meditation. That could be during prayer. That could be during a walk. It could be while you're in the kitchen cooking. There's so many different ways to have this sacred silence and the practice of it, of how it makes sense for you. Within each of us exists this source of divine wisdom, this intuition, this truth, this knowing, this power. And in the stillness of sacred silence, you're not just emptying out your mind, but you're making room, you're making space to listen. And oftentimes when we think of listening, we think of our physical ear of listening. But it's really about the spiritual ear that's listening. It's that holy, sacred ear that's listening. It's tuning into that inner powerful voice within you that speaks constantly and always. But oftentimes, as human beings, we typically listen with this as opposed to with this. And so oftentimes we have to get out of our heads and into our hearts to be able to hear from that sacred place within us. And so the sacred silence helps for you to have this deeper knowing, being one with that intuition within you, so that you're able to make better decisions for yourself. And so instead of you making decisions out of or from that emotional side of you, even from the logical or analytical side, which as a totality, they all help, but it's understanding that outside of that humanness, that the God in you speaks to be able to guide you through life. And if you tune into the God in you that speaks, then it helps for you to navigate life from a vastly different perspective. It's your internal navigation system always guiding you in the right direction. It's having clarity more than not. It's being clear about the why and the how and the what. It's answers to questions that you have. It's a sense of peace and literally this unconditional love. Sacred silence allows for you to tap into, to engage, and live from that sacred place. It's a feeling of being guided, where you are aligned with the actions, your actions, like it all aligns. So you don't feel disconnected from yourself. Because oftentimes, in the world that we live in, the society that we live in, there is this disconnection that we have with our true selves. And so we operate out of, from conditioning programming of what we were told to do, but not what we should do. So that alignment, you feel disjointed, separated from your true, authentic self. That sacred silence brings you back home to your true self. So sacred silence is a practice that makes this internal listening possible. It's a way of honoring the inner source of wisdom, giving it space to be heard. It's honoring the God in you. It's the quiet that you can often find that's most profound, that people have ignored. But when you tune into yourself, when you give yourself the space, that sacred silence that you need to become one and tune into, you feel this sense of oneness with the God in you. There is a oneness with the God in you. So today, I'll ask you to do this. I'll ask that you give yourself space. Pull away from the noise Get off of your phone. Turn off the TV, the radio. Find a quiet place. Take a deep breath and relax your body. And start with even 30 seconds of just allowing silence to be what it is. And allow yourself to feel through that. And then increase the time. Make it an intentional point to just be quiet. To not think, as hard as that may be. To just relax your body and be. Even if you have to close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths to relax your physical body, to relax your mind. But give yourself that. And practice that more and more and more, even during your prayer time, as opposed to asking for something. Maybe be in this place of gratitude. And then be quiet and allow that to wash over you. And allow it to fill you with, the gratitude to fill you. And then just be. And there's so many different ways that you can practice. During meditation, taking a couple of deep breaths, closing your eyes, and just being. No thoughts, no questions, just being. And as you become more in tune with yourself, it'll become more of an intentional practice because you'll crave it, you'll want it. During a busy day, you'll need to pull back. The God in you will say it's time to pull back, take a couple of minutes to yourself. And I can promise you, as you do that, as you become more intentional about it, as it becomes not just a second nature, but first nature, that it is just who you are, life will begin to shift and be different. For me, I am about living life from a place of lightness. Like, life can be so heavy. But removing the weights, especially those that don't even belong to me, the pressures that I've put on myself, the demands of the world, and everything else. My goal is to move through life light as a feather. It's intentional. Even if it's chaos all around me. You think of a tornado where it's debris and chaos and all of these different things that's just happening. And right in the middle of the tornado is where calm is. When you think of the world of like all of the distractions and everything else, that's like that tornado. But if you can be right in the middle of that and be calm. And that's what I am working on, even myself. This sacred silence in the midst of chaos and all of these other things. To be true and aligned with who I am. And not moved or swayed. But solid. And sometimes there could be a sway. But I'm still grounded. I'm still grounded. And that sacred silence helps for me to be grounded. So take this sacred silence as you deciding to do something different in your life. As I stated, even if it's 30 seconds, and that 30 seconds may happen multiple times in a day, that's fine. But make sacred silence an intentional practice for you so that you can tune in to the God in you. And so that you're able to move through life lighter. So my name is Markia, and I am the host of You Plus You podcast. Until next week, blessings.